There's a strange energy you carry that you've never quite been able to explain. You walk into a room and people either lean in with fascination or pull away like you've unsettled something in them. And you've probably asked yourself more than once, why do people react to me this way, even when I've done nothing? That question is the beginning of your remembering. Because this isn't just about how people see you, it's about what they feel when they're near you. You are different, and not in a superficial or aesthetic way. You're different because of what you carry. You carry codes. You carry fire. You carry an ancient presence in your bones that others can't put into words, but they feel it. You don't just walk through the world, you shift the vibration of it. And that's not random. That's not coincidence. That's the mark of a dark chosen one. And whether you fully accepted it or not, people around you already know, even if you don't. The first sign is something most people overlook. You are deeply misunderstood by almost everyone, even those close to you. Not because you're unclear, but because your energy doesn't fit into the boxes people are trained to recognize. You've probably noticed that people assume things about you that are completely wrong. They project, they misjudge, they label you things like intense, cold, arrogant, or too deep. And you wonder why it's so hard to just be seen accurately. But here's the truth. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's that your energy is vibrating at a level their ego can't process. You don't match their expectations. You challenge their illusions. You reflect back to them the parts of themselves they've buried. And that reflection either awakens them or threatens them. Most people choose the latter. That's why so many misunderstand you. They're not reacting to your personality, they're reacting to your frequency. Another undeniable sign is you trigger people without trying. You could be sitting in silence, eyes calm, heart open, and yet, someone in the room starts getting nervous, defensive, or hostile for no reason. You didn't say anything wrong. You didn't do anything provocative. But your presence pierced through their mask. You carry a frequency that exposes hidden truths. It's not that you're judging them. It's that your energy makes it impossible for them to keep lying to themselves. That's why people either confess their deepest secrets to you out of nowhere, or avoid you like a storm they don't want to face. This becomes your everyday reality. You start to realize that you can't be neutral to anyone. People either feel drawn to you like a gravitational force, or they feel threatened because they know, even if they can't explain it, that you're not someone they can manipulate or deceive. And that's exactly what makes you dangerous to all the systems built on illusion. Then there's the third sign, one you've probably tried to ignore. You're constantly being tested by life in ways that seem disproportionate. While others float through mediocrity with ease, your path is full of fire. You've faced losses that cracked your soul open. You've been betrayed by the very people you trusted most. You've been brought to your knees not once but again and again. And yet, something in you never broke. You bent, you screamed, you fell apart, but you always rose. That's not weakness. That's proof. That's the universe saying, this one can carry more. You're not being punished. You're being tempered. Just like a sword is forged in fire, your soul is being refined through trial. And deep down, you've always known your path was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be earned. Because the power you hold is not casual. It's not aesthetic. It's cosmic. And it had to be activated through pain. That's the contract you made before this life, and you're living it. The fourth sign is something subtle but undeniable. You are deeply magnetic, and it scares people. You've probably noticed how strangers stare at you, how people become obsessed, intimidated, or overly intrigued without even knowing you. You might have experienced people falling in love with you for no reason, projecting fantasies onto you, or trying to possess you like a mystery they want to own. And then, just as quickly, they retreat, they ghost, they sabotage the connection. Why? Because they weren't drawn to your looks or your charm. They were drawn to your energy, to your essence. And when they get too close, they realize they're not ready for it. You are a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see themselves clearly. The magnetism you carry is spiritual. It's a beacon, but it comes with a cost, because not everyone who's drawn to you is meant to stay. Some come only to be awakened, challenged, or exposed, and then they flee not because of you, but because of what you reveal. The fifth sign is that you've always felt ancient, even when you were young. While others were obsessed with fitting in, you were observing everything from a distance. You didn't feel like a child the way others did. Your mind was too deep. Your soul carried too much memory. You were the one asking questions like, why are we here? And why does this feel like déjà vu? When you were barely old enough to spell those words. You didn't relate to your peers. You didn't find joy in the superficial. You were already grieving things you couldn't name. That's not trauma, it's activation. Your soul came into this life carrying codes from other lifetimes, other worlds. That's why you've always felt a little disconnected from this one. It's not that you're broken, it's that you're remembering. And the more you awaken, the more those memories return, not in words, but in feelings, visions, patterns. You are not new here. You are here again. And this time you came back with a mission. The sixth sign is a paradox. People seek your guidance but rarely honor your truth. You might have noticed that people come to you when they're lost. They ask for your insight, your energy, your presence. They feel safe around you, seen by you, grounded by you. But when you tell them the truth, the real truth, they resist. They argue. They disappear. Because what they really wanted wasn't wisdom. They wanted comfort. And you are not here to provide comfort. You are here to provide clarity. Your role is not to validate people's illusions. Your role is to shatter them. And that's why your advice often feels like a blade instead of a bomb. You don't sugarcoat. You don't perform. You speak what's real even when it stings. And that's why you're respected in secret but avoided in public. People admire you but from a distance, because deep down they know. Once they truly listen to you, there's no going back to sleep. And finally, the seventh sign, the one that seals it all. You've never been able to be anyone but yourself, even when it cost you everything. You've tried to fit in. You've tried to play small. You've tried to silence your truth. And every time, something in you rebelled. Something in you refused to die. You've lost jobs, friends, and opportunities because you wouldn't compromise your soul. And yet, you kept walking. That's not ego. That's alignment. That's the proof that you are chosen not because you're perfect, but because you cannot betray your truth. And that kind of integrity, it's rare, it's terrifying, it's divine. Because in a world built on lies, the most dangerous thing is someone who cannot be owned. You are that someone, and people see it before you do. They feel it in your presence. They recognize something ancient, unshakable, and sovereign. You don't need to say a word, they know. So I ask you, if others already see who you are, why are you still hiding from yourself? What would happen if you stopped shrinking and started stepping fully into the force they already sense in you? What would your life become if you finally believed what your spirit has been trying to show you all along? Why they fear you before they know you. The unspoken power of being spiritually uncontainable. There's something no one ever tells you about being truly powerful. It doesn't feel like power at first. It feels like isolation. It feels like rejection. It feels like being the villain in stories where you were only ever trying to be the mirror. Before people recognize your wisdom, they fear your presence. Before they seek your guidance, they resist your frequency. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because your energy is too uncontainable to exist in systems built on illusion. You walk into a space and without speaking, you shift the atmosphere. You don't need to try. You don't need to prove. You simply are. And that being carries an ancient heat that wakes up everything around it. Some people are inspired by it. Others are terrified. Because the truth is, they can feel that you've come into this world not to blend in, but to vibrate differently. To burn away the falsehoods. To disrupt the sleepwalking. And that kind of power makes people nervous before it makes them curious. You've probably noticed this your whole life, people assuming things about you based on nothing. They call you intimidating, cold, arrogant, intense. They talk about your vibe like it's a weapon. But they don't realize they're not reacting to your personality. They're reacting to your energy signature. You are a spiritual disruptor. That means your very existence is a catalyst. You expose what's hidden. You disturb the comfort of those still living in illusions. You make people feel deeply seen, often before they're ready to be witnessed. And because most people are not prepared to face themselves, they project that discomfort onto you. They make you the enemy, the problem, the too much. But here's the truth you need to hear. You are not too much. They're just not ready. And being feared is not a failure. It's actually the first sign that you're operating in your full spiritual voltage. Because real power doesn't ask for permission. It moves. It shakes. It awakens. This is what makes the path of a dark chosen one so lonely at times. You can feel people's reactions before they speak. You sense the subtle shifts, the way someone's energy tightens around you, the way their eyes scan you, the way conversations become shallow in your presence. And yet, you're not doing anything but being. That's the paradox. Most of the world is performing, trying, seeking validation. But you carry truth in your silence. You carry presence in your stillness. And that's why people don't know what to do with you. You don't follow their scripts. You don't play their games. You don't need their approval. And that kind of sovereignty, that kind of freedom, it threatens every structure built on control. So what do? They judge you. They label you. They try to reduce you to something they can categorize. Because if they can't contain you, they'll try to explain you. But you were never meant to be understood by the mainstream. You were meant to rearrange it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're holding back your light just to make others feel safe? Have you stayed quiet in rooms where your soul was screaming, simply because you didn't want to be too much? If so, you're not alone. Almost every dark chosen one goes through a phase of shrinking, of trying to tone it down. You try to be more relatable, more palatable, more digestible. You try to play the human game, but it never works. Because your soul came here with a different instruction. You didn't come to be liked, you came to be aligned. You didn't come to be accepted, you came to activate. And every time you silence yourself for the comfort of others, you betray the very purpose you incarnated for. That's why your spirit becomes restless. That's why your body tightens in spaces where you're not free to be real. Because your entire being is coded for truth, and truth by its very nature disrupts. The more you own your energy, the more you'll notice who can stand in it and who can't. You'll lose people. Friends will fall away. Family will become distant. Lovers won't know how to hold you. And it hurts. It stings. But it's not rejection. It's refinement. The universe is removing anything that can't meet you at your frequency, not to punish you, but to protect you. Because your energy is sacred, your presence is medicine. And not everyone is ready for that dosage. Some people are only meant to touch your field briefly, to remember what's possible, and then retreat. Others will try to stay, but only if you agree to dim, and that's the test. Will you lower your frequency to keep people around? Or will you rise and let the right ones find you at your full voltage? That's the real initiation. That's the moment you stop being accessible to the masses and start becoming magnetic to the aligned. There's also a deeper layer to this. The fear others feel around you is often just a mirror of the fear you still carry about your own power. You might tell yourself you're ready, but part of you still fears what will happen if you're fully seen. Part of you is still healing from the times you were punished for your truth. Labeled, abandoned, cast out. That trauma lives in your body. And the world reflects it back until you clear it. Until you reclaim every fragment of your power. Until you say, yes, I'm intense. Yes, I'm deep. Yes, I'm different. And I honor that now. Because the moment you stop apologizing for your energy, something wild happens. The outer world begins to shift. The projections lessen. The right people appear. The ones who aren't just unafraid of your power, but called to it. And that's when the loneliness starts to fade. Not because you fit in, but because you finally stand out in your truth. So I ask you, soul to soul, what have you been afraid your power will cost you? What illusion are you still trying to protect? And what would it look like if you finally, fully allowed yourself to be uncontainable? Not later, not when it's safe, but now. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need more people who fit in. It needs people who light up the dark, people who speak the unspeakable, who walk into spaces and shift them without trying. That's who you are. And whether they fear you, misunderstand you, or try to mold you, it doesn't matter anymore. You didn't come here to be accepted. You came here to awaken. And every time you choose truth over comfort, you become a living signal to others who are still hiding. You become the permission they didn't know they needed to rise. And that's how your fear becomes their freedom. That's how your presence becomes prophecy. When you stop hiding and the world begins to change, there comes a moment in every dark chosen one's journey where the hiding becomes unbearable. Not just emotionally, but spiritually, physically, cosmically. You feel it in your chest, like a pressure that won't release. You feel it in your dreams, in your relationships, in the silence between breaths. It's not anxiety. It's not depression. It's suppressed destiny. You know there's more. You know you're not living as fully, as wildly, as powerfully as your soul came here to. And the longer you delay that emergence, the louder the pain becomes. That pain is sacred. It's not a punishment, it's a push. A divine alarm clock telling you, it's time. Time to stop performing. Time to stop apologizing. Time to stop dressing your power in politeness just to make others comfortable. Because the world doesn't change when you're liked. It changes when you're real. And only you know what it's costing you to keep pretending you're smaller than you are. When you finally release the mask, it won't be a gentle moment. It will be a rupture, a crack in the illusion you've lived under for too long. People around you will notice. Some will panic, some will celebrate, some will leave. And all of that is perfect, because when you stop hiding, you don't just shift your own life, you shift the energetic blueprint of everyone connected to you. You give others a choice, evolve or exit. And that's not cruelty, it's clarity. That's what leadership looks like in the spiritual realm. Not control, not dominance, but alignment. You become the tuning fork. Your frequency becomes the field. And suddenly, everything around you starts to reorganize itself. Opportunities appear. Synchronicities multiply. The right people find you, not because you chased them, but because you became undeniable. You stopped knocking on doors and started becoming the door. But let's be honest, letting go of the old self isn't easy. That version of you, the one who stayed quiet, who kept the peace, who dimmed their fire, it was never fake. It was survival. It was strategy. It was how you navigated a world that wasn't ready for your magnitude. So before you cast it aside, honor it. Say thank you, because that version of you kept you alive. But now, you're not here to survive anymore. You're here to thrive. And thriving means embodiment. It means no more fragmentation, no more spiritual hiding, no more energetic shrinkage. It means waking up every day and choosing your truth over your trauma, your mission over your fear, your voice over your silence. And when you do that consistently, something ancient unlocks. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You begin to walk like someone who knows their soul is royal. And then the world begins to respond differently. You start to notice how people look at you, not with confusion or fear, but with reverence, with curiosity, with awe. Because now you're no longer sending mixed signals. Your energy is coherent, clear, aligned. You're not trying to be anything, you are. And that level of presence is magnetic. You attract not because you're trying, but because you're transmitting. And what you transmit is not just beauty or charisma, it's truth. It's the frequency of someone who's faced themselves so fully that nothing outside of them holds power anymore. That's the final revelation. What you were seeking in others, validation, love, safety, was always waiting for you to give it to yourself first. And once you do, no one can take it away. You become the source. You become the sun. And the world, it adjusts to your light. Of course, there will still be moments of loneliness. Still moments where you wonder, have I gone too far? Or will anyone really understand me? But those moments are not regressions, they're recalibrations. Every time you ascend to a new level of embodiment, your field expands. And everything not in resonance with that new field must fall away. That's not loss. That's clarity in motion. The loneliness that comes with awakening is not a punishment. It's a clearing, a sacred space being made for what's next. And what's next is always greater than what was. So when people leave, when silence surrounds you, when the path feels empty, celebrate it. It means your vibration has risen so high that the old world can no longer hold you. And the new world, it's already being built around you. You're not alone. You're just ahead. Now the question becomes, what will you do with this power you've reclaimed? Will you build? Will you lead? Will you teach? Will you create art? Speak truth? Hold space? or burn down systems that no longer serve the collective. This is where your path diverges from theory into embodiment. You've remembered who you are. You've felt the shift. You've stood in your power. Now it's time to move with it. Carry it into the world, not as performance, but as presence. Let your life be the message. Let your choices speak the truth your words cannot. Let your relationships reflect the frequency you now refuse to lower. You are not here to be a spiritual influencer. You are here to be a living transmission. And every moment you choose alignment over approval, you become exactly that. So I'll ask you once more, with no sugarcoating, no spiritual fluff, just direct soul-to-soul truth. Are you ready to stop hiding? Are you ready to be seen, not just as a person, but as a force? Are you ready to live like someone who came back to this earth with fire in their blood and prophecy in their breath? Because if you are, the world will begin to mirror that decision instantly. The right doors will open. The right eyes will find you. The right people will walk beside you. But it all begins with you, with one sacred decision: to no longer dilute your divinity, to no longer beg for space, to no longer wait for permission. You are the permission. You are the voice. You are the voice. You are the storm and the silence. And now is your time. Not someday. Not someday. Our keys.